Win the game.
Coming at you live in the heart of Lincoln, America.
I said, hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
On air and online at theticketfm.com. Here are your hosts, Jake Bakoven and Enrique Alvarez Clary.
It is Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody out there. This is the Ticket Water Cooler on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Jake Bakoven. He is Enrique Alvarez Clary, or better known as Buck and Rico. And we do the show every day for you during your lunch hour from 12 to 1. And we liked especially today because we get the press conference and we get to react to it as Mickey Joseph was in front of the podium. About 40 minutes ago is when the presser started. So we can kind of break down what things were said, what things weren't said. No, mostly just what things were said. I'm trying to make it sound like we're smarter than we are, but mostly just what
well, I
things
mean,
were said
there is an instance of things that weren't said.
Were there some things not said?
He said but not said. He was asked about the offense and the lack of running, and he said he talked to Whipple, and they asked them, as you do, they asked him to
expand on that, yeah.
What came out of that conversation, and he said, that's between me and Whipple.
Oh, things were not said. There we go. We paid off on the promise there.
Things were said, things were not said. It was fun. It was an interesting presser.
And it is very interesting.
He gave Harbaugh his props.
Did he? And that's also notable today is that, and I don't have Harbaugh's press conference either, but Harbaugh had his press conference and didn't say a word about Nebraska. Like the comment.
Okay, that's getting weird because
that didn't ask anything.
That's the second coach in a row that hasn't really been asked about Nebraska, because PJ Fleck was asked one question about Nebraska.
Yeah.
Do the reporters in the other schools just not care? They're just like, yeah, you're playing Nebraska, whatever. Tell us more about your team.
That's what it is. I mean, that's where Nebraska's kind of at as a program,
Dang.
I suppose. It's kind of frustrating, but especially with Michigan, it's more understandable, though. It's like, they're chasing Ohio State and trying, playoffs
97.
and stuff. Yeah. You'd ask about 1997. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that's it.
But I'm in Minnesota. You should probably ask a question or two about Nebraska. And, of course, Nebraska has their own in-house things to work with this game, too. But I thought that was kind of interesting. Let's go ahead and get into it. What everybody wants to know, probably first and foremost, is the situation at quarterback. So we can start there. Here is on if Casey will start or not. Here's Mickey Joseph.
I'm gonna make a decision probably Thursday after I watch them both practice, because I gotta watch them both practice, and see which one's performing the best. But right now, I'm looking at both of them right now.
Sorry, that is him in response to if Casey.
I think I might have. Yeah, if Casey was going to go or not.
No, you didn't mess it up. I just had
I
clicked the wrong one. That's on if Casey cannot play. Here it is. Would you rule Casey out at this point?
Right now, just looking at him today, I probably will rule out Casey. If he don't go by tomorrow. If he doesn't go by tomorrow, I'm gonna have to rule him out. I mean, I look at these kids as my sons, so I'm not gonna put them out there if they can't go. And when Casey, like I said, Casey's gonna say he's feeling better, but I gotta be smart with Casey and not put him out there if he can't perform at a high level.
Yeah, of course, Casey Thompson's gonna say he's good. Every competitor,
he's been trying to get
every competitor is like, no, I'm good. Put me back in, coach. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good to go. I'm good to go. You got to protect these kids from themselves sometimes. So. He barely practiced last week. He didn't practice today. So if he's not able to practice tomorrow, then you understand why Mickey Joseph and the coaching staff doesn't want to put him back out there against another highly rated defense and a really physical team like Michigan, especially when you maybe have two quarterbacks who can get the job done. And I mean, you're 30-point underdogs. So there is that aspect to it as well.
Which is crazy that Nebraska would ever be a 30-point underdog.
They asked him, so I didn't get to it yet. It's later on in the press conference, so I haven't saved it yet. But somebody asked him if he's ever been a 29-point underdog, whether he was as a player. Oh, it's in there. It's in there. It's in there, and it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny his answer to if he has ever been a 30-point underdog, whether as a player or as a coach, anywhere he's been.
That's a lot. That's just a lot of points. And I don't know, like, I understand, they got to kind of make it difficult for you if you're betting on the game, but I don't even, as I sit back and look at it, it's not like I'm thinking, well, I'm definitely taking Nebraska to cover.
Yeah.
So it's kind of difficult. Here's his response to being a 29-point underdog.
You talking about when I played?
As a player, as a coach?
Absolutely not. No, never been underdog like that. But it happens. It happens.
Yeah, so all the more reason for Nebraska to shock the world if they can get it done.
I love that. Absolutely not.
No.
Especially not as a player.
Yeah. But that's kind of like when we think about it right now without Casey Thompson, is that kind of what you're thinking going in this game? I mean, maybe we're giving Michigan too much credit, but I mean, they kind of messed around with Rutgers for a while and then beat them by 35.
Well, Rutgers, and if you've listened to Jay Foreman, whether it was on, I don't know what the show is called that he does with Matt Coatney on Saturdays after games, or yesterday, and I'm sure he'll mention it again today, when Rutgers was playing Michigan, Rutgers had him. Rutgers, I'm not going to say they could have beat them, but they could have kept it closer. They had them. They had a lead, and they were running the ball. They were playing tough defense, and they had Michigan. And then they decided to start passing the ball for whatever reason and threw a bunch of interceptions to Michigan. So they let the game get away from them. They switched things up, and it got away from them. So if you have something that's working against this team, stick with it. Don't try and switch things up because, look, they're human. They have off days as well. Maybe this Saturday is going to be an off day for Michigan. You don't know.
I mean, Northwestern kept it close with Ohio State.
Yeah.
That doesn't tell you anything can happen on a Saturday.
And if you want to say, oh, well, it was because of the weather. Well, Northwestern had to deal with the weather as well, and they only lost by 14 points to the number 2 team in the nation. So anything can happen any Saturday, and if you find something that works for you, do not go away from it and keep going with that because Michigan, although they are, a top 5 team in the nation, top 4 team in the nation, they have holes as well. You just got to find them and exploit them. That's all you got to do if you're Nebraska. Find the holes and exploit those holes. And then when Michigan makes adjustments, because they will, because Harbaugh is a great coach, find some new holes and exploit those.
It's as easy as that.
It's as easy. It's very easier said than done.
It is a lot easier said than done. Here is Coach Joseph talking about Logan Smothers' practice versus games because I think that's fascinating too. Is just kind of whether or not Nebraska wins this game or is in a position to win this game with the backup quarterbacks is one thing, but just the choice between Logan Smothers and Chubba Purdy, if they run out Purdy, I think Nebraska Twitter's going to
lose
crazy.
They're going to lose their minds.
People are going to lose their minds. But and part of this has been said with Coach Joseph in the past is that basically Mickey says Logan needs to be more consistent in practice. So while they're evaluating practice, maybe they're not getting as much out of Logan. But during the games, the last couple games, you'd probably side with Logan, and Husker Nation has. Not that it's frankly overwhelming one way or the other, but it is kind of what it is. Here is Coach Joseph on Logan Smothers' practice versus games.
You're right. I think Logan's more of a gamer, but he's got to practice better. And he understands that. And Logan is really going to attack this week, trying to be a better practice player. That's his goal this week.
So there you have it. I mean,
it's not much there, but it's something that they have mentioned before, and why they've been reluctant to get Logan into games is because I don't know about his practice habits, but just the way that he's looked in practice hasn't looked exactly the way that the coaching staff wants their quarterback during a game to look. So if you're not getting the looks in practice that you want, then it's really hard, even if you believe that he's better in games. Somebody has a bad week of practice. I mean, you could throw him in and they have a bad game. But what it looks like for Logan is that he doesn't practice very well, but once he gets into a game, it's completely different. But that's something as a coach that even if you do know that, that's a hard feeling to shake off. This guy was rough in practice. This guy threw 4 interceptions this week in practice. Are we sure we want to get him out there to start throwing passes? Like, I understand that he's played well in the few games that we've thrown him into, but this week he hasn't looked good at all. And I understand that coming from the coaching staff, where if Chubba Purdy had a great week of practice, you're looking at it like, I mean, he looks like he's locked in. He looks like he's ready to go. He gets into a game, he starts struggling. You look at Logan, you're like, he was struggling this week. I'm not really sure what we're going to do. Throw him in there and he starts playing well. That's a balancing act that I'm glad I never have to deal with.
Yeah, it certainly does probably shake the confidence going into the game for him. Here is Coach Joseph. Are they still looking at one backup as better at pass and the other one better at run? Because that's kind of the labels that have been stuck to them, not by us, by the coaches, is
Mhm.
that Logan's more of the runner and Purdy's more of the passer. Here is what Coach Joseph said today.
Well, we're trying to mesh that together right now. We think Purdy's, the better thrower, but Logan, he can make throws also. And we think Logan's the better runner. It happens like that. Each quarterback's going to have different strengths and weaknesses.
It's just hard to see the better passer from Purdy. And maybe it's still an injury lingering. Maybe like if it's 7-on-7s and there's no pass rush, he can sling the ball.
Like Tannerly.
But he was, but he was, I mean, those were ducks, and they were hitting receivers on like the shoulders. And
And I mean, I'm not one to criticize somebody's throwing motion. I'm not a quarterback, but it didn't look fluid. He looked as if, and you've seen it on the internet and from a couple other people as well. It looked as if he was shot putting the ball, where he's not, letting it fly off his fingertips. Looks like he's, trying to just push it forward to get it to the receivers. And to me, he was throwing to where the receivers were, not where the receivers were going to be. And that was causing a lot of issues as well, where he's, almost getting intercepted multiple times, or as you said, hitting the shoulders, or, thrown behind receivers where they have to reach back and catch it. And that kind of resulted in a lot of the drops. So I'm in agreement with you that just labeling Chuba as the better passer doesn't seem quite accurate based on what we've seen so far. And I understand. I mean, you go back to the spring game. Chuba Purdy was putting the ball on lines, putting them in perfect positions for people to catch. His throwing motion looked nothing like it is now. And so it might be a lingering issue. It might be something. Did they ever let us know why or what the injury was that he didn't practice the week before the Illinois game? Because if it's a shoulder injury or something upper body, that might explain the throwing motion.
Yeah, it's just a weird situation, and I think it's probably good, especially with Michigan kind of playing a game of chess there, trying to say, well, we're not going to decide on this quarterback or that quarterback till later in the week.
Mm-hmm.
I just still think and this thing is just interesting. I mean, it's Whipple is starting to get heavily criticized by, the Nebraska media, the Nebraska fans. I mean, everybody's got to point a finger at Whipple this week, and again, I do so less so, because I think that he did adjust a little bit with what he had. Now, did he not? Should he have stuck to the run a little bit more here and there? Yeah, but you hired a passing game coordinator. And by the way, with the communication, and we'll get to this here in a second, but they did, Whipple and Coach Mickey Joseph did talk this week about maybe sticking with the run a little bit more. Mm-hmm. You did also hire Mickey Joseph, who as a passing game coordinator. Right. So Whipple and him, supposedly, you would think, at least with those titles, spent months together working on this passing game to get it ready to go. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know how much of that disconnect between the two is real, or it's exaggerated. I mean, like I said, I'm sure there is. When you're working with somebody for the first time, your first year, it always works better 2-3 years down the line. You're more connected. So, mm-hmm. I'm sure there is a disconnect. I just don't know if it's overblown to the point where we think, what fans kind of want to speak for Mickey and say, yeah, this is ridiculous. Whipple's doing this and that. The head coach should have, kind of a say in what's going on out there in the game. And if he doesn't now, he needs to adjust that, because you're going to have to do that if they take off the interim tag or if he gets a job elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to speak for Mickey or speak for Whipple in terms of play calling and all of that. But it does seem, as you said, they're both, more passing oriented, at least in their titles, mm-hmm. and kind of their pass and what they've been doing as coaches, but wanting to / needing to run the ball more is something that have to have been discussing. And Mickey Joseph talked about it today, that they did discuss that and they talked about it, and that's going to stay between them, what the conversation was. But like you said, there's going to be some sort of disconnect, because they've been together for January is when they were both hired. So they've been together for 11 months now, and mostly talking passing game and how to get the receivers and the quarterbacks on the same page and chuck the ball down the field, air it out and all that stuff, while they're leaving the running game. Well, Whipple's talking with somebody else about the running game, but in terms of their conversations together, probably mostly just about passing and airing the ball out. So that's something that they've had to adjust to after Mickey got the interim tag. And it's it's not something that you want to put words into Mickey's mouth or put words into Whipple's mouth, but they, like you said, if he does end up getting the interim tag taken away or gets a head coaching job somewhere else, he's going to have to get used to, taking the reins and taking over and telling somebody, no, we can't do that. We have to go with this. But he's also told us that he's given full offensive rights to Mark Whipple. Everything within the offensive play calling and everything on the offense, that's all Whipple. And that's what Mickey said.
But that was Mickey's decision too, right?
Exactly.
So it's like,
but that's something that you need to, even if you've done that and you've given the entire offense to Mark Whipple, if you truly believe that the ball needs to be run more, you need to go up to Whipple. You need to talk to him and explain to him how, look, we can't keep passing on first down. We need to, and it's something he said today. Again, we'll get to that, one of his quotes later. You need to be okay with 3 to 4 yards because you run it twice, you get 3 yards both times. Now it's 3rd and short, and you can do whatever you want from there.
Well, and again, I mentioned this the other day. During their 6-3 and outs, excuse me, their traditional running game was getting him 2 yards a pop. So 3 and 4 yards is one thing, but 2 yards isn't really helping you all that much.
I mean, 3rd and 6
as silly as it is. Sometimes you're not going to get. I mean, part of it, like with Muhammad Ibrahim, who finished with 100, whatever he finished with, but he only had a long of 11. Part of it is sticking with the game plan, sticking with the run. So you got to be okay with -1. You got to be okay with 2. You got to be okay with
if you run it 34 times, right? And you get 6 yards a pop, or you get 2 yards here, 2 yards there. Oh, there's a 7-yarder. Oh, there's an 8-yarder. Oh, 2 yards, -1. You just stick with it because at some point a hole's going to open. That's the thing is you're going to pop one. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time.
But again, with that Minnesota game, to me, I think you always got to remember there's a coach on the other sidelines. And PJ Fleck and his defensive crew, they also played a part in shutting down Nebraska's run. This wasn't all Mark Whipple. Mark Whipple was calling run plays in each and every one of those, 3 and outs. They weren't getting, predominantly not getting too many yards. Like I said, just an average of 2 yards a carry there during those 3 and outs. So, I mean, the run game wasn't working either during that. And that's part of the problem with the limited offense. They had quarterback issues there. They were, testing out different guys. And again, maybe the offensive line played a better game in this game, but it's not a great offensive line. So you can say pound the table and say run the ball as much as you want. Sometimes your offensive line, certainly throughout the year, has been outmatched.
Yeah, it's no matter how many times we say, oh, they played a better game, they played a good game, in comparative to how they have been playing, a good game really isn't that good compared to other offensive lines. But it's something you gotta take, and you got to take the good games from your offensive line and take advantage of those. Because if you're going to waste a game like that where they actually played pretty well, even compared to themselves and compared to other offensive lines, they played pretty well. They opened up holes. Granted, it was in the first half. The second half, like you said, was a little bit more of a struggle. But in those instances, you got to take advantage of that and put more points on the board and, move the ball down the field.
Yeah. We'll take a quick break here. We got more coming for the Mickey Joseph press conference. We'll break down and react to coming next year on the Ticket Water Cooler, 93.7 The Ticket.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Water heater gone? Call Bryant. The price you're quoted is the price you'll pay. And in most cases, same-day replacement. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111.
This is Todd Riley with American Senior Benefits. If you qualify for Medicare, then you're probably getting bombarded with information right now about different options during the annual election period. It can all be incredibly overwhelming. We're here to help. The experts at American Senior Benefits can help you navigate all of your options and make the best decision for you. You can reach out via our Facebook page, American Senior Benefits Lincoln, or call me directly at 402-413-9510. Let us help you make an informed decision at American Senior Benefits.
Fall has arrived, and it's the perfect weather for the DIY market to listen to the game while building a deck. Deck City is a great place to start as Lincoln's local source for everything decks. Deck City has everything you need to build the deck of your dreams, from treated lumber to Westbury aluminum railings and TimberTech composite decking. They offer advice from real deck professionals to give you proper guidance to make your project go smooth. Call them today to schedule an appointment at 402-480-6671 or go online at deckcityne.com.
Hey, it's Nicklin Hames from Nebraska Volleyball. I hate wasting time in practice, and I want to help you stop wasting your time when you're looking for an electrician. High Electric has been serving the area for over 30 years for both residential and commercial properties. They are experts in everything like remodeling, new additions, hot tub installation, and more. And they take jobs from Beatrice to Omaha and all towns, big or small, in between. Call them today at 402-466-6606 or learn more at high-electric.com.
Mary Ellen Food for the Soul and Gato Comedy Syndicate present Big Comedy Energy November 11th and 12th, featuring headliner Corbin LeMaster.
If you don't know, cultural appropriation is like if you're not black, you can't have cornrows. If you're not Asian, you can't use chopsticks. If you're white, you can't score a touchdown.
4 shows November 11th and 12th at 7 and 9:30 at Mary Ellen's at 27th and Pine Lake. Tickets are $15 in advance or $25 at the door. For more information, find the event on the Mary Ellen's page on Facebook.
There's nothing quite like the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese beef. The Mercado offers unique ingredients you can't find anywhere else, open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The full-service butcher shop and retail store is wonderful for meat lovers with their exclusive certified Piedmontese beef and assorted sausages, plus other quality meats, including pork, chicken, and a wide range of the freshest seafood. Plus, every Friday from 11 to 2, the Mercado serves up the best lunch in town on their Friday Feast menu. Stop in at the Mercado today at 84th and Havelock or visit their website at cpmercado.com to see current deals.
Life-changing research doesn't just take place in outer space. It's also happening right here in Nebraska, and you could play a key role. Solarion, one of the world's leading clinical research organizations, needs healthy adults who are 19 years old and older for a research opportunity. If you qualify, you can earn up to $500 a day for time and travel. Overnight stays may be required. To learn more, call Solarion at 866-213-2965 or visit helpresearch.com/500.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill, open for lunch and dinner at 9th and P or at 1501 Center Park Road.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket. Every Saturday morning now in our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Hey guys, Nick Sadert here, and I want to tell you about my friends at Spine and Sports Chiropractic. I experienced a herniated disc in my lower back a few years ago, and thanks to the folks at Spine and Sports, I got back to feeling 100%. At Spine and Sports, they use the active release technique, which involves the soft tissue and can alleviate headaches, shoulder pain, plantar fasciitis, and more. What I like most about the ART method is that your doctor will construct a plan that fits your needs because the technique is not a cookie-cutter approach. Allow Spine and Sports Chiropractic to help you feel better. Set up your appointment today by giving them a call at 402-261-6841.
Vershawn Jackson for Brant Excavating. Brant's been in business for 29 years, and they specialize in a variety of things. If you're looking for someone to get the job done in precision demolition, excavating, trucking, mass grading, and site prep, Brant is the place to call. To set up a quote or learn more, call Brant Excavating at 402-474-4113 or go to brantexcavating.com. They're also hiring, so join the team today. Brant Excavating, a part of the Bauer brand, who reminds you, go Big Brand.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Back to the Ticket Water Cooler, brought to you by Wingstop on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back here on the Ticket Water Cooler on 93.7 The Ticket. We're going through Mickey Joseph's press conference. He took the podium about an hour ago. Lots coming out of that. Of course, today the breaking news, probably the news of the day, is the Miles Farmer situation, which Miles Farmer, of course, Nebraska's starting safety, had 14 tackles this past game out, is going to be suspended for the upcoming game because of a little bit of off the field DUI situation coming out of Saturday night, I believe.
Not great.
As On3 was reporting that this morning. Here is Coach Joseph on that situation.
Well, we have Phelan back there. We can get Singleton back there. And, a Miles situation. Miles, he made a mistake. He made a bad mistake, and we don't condone that. We always talk about protect the football team, and he didn't. And he will be suspended this week. And we'll reevaluate him after this week, but it's something that you can't do. I mean, that's not smart. And we always say protect the team. And I'm very disappointed in Miles. And Miles is he's gonna make this right. He's gonna do he's gonna get back in good grace with this football team. But we're not gonna condone that. That's bad. That's a bad situation. He understands. He's a good kid. He made a mistake, but we can't make mistakes like that.
Well, there you have it. You heard from Coach Joseph there. And it is worth noting today. I know a lot of, his name is probably feeling pretty bad about himself today, but he's a guy that's been on the Brooke Behringer, Tom Osborne citizenships teams and, done charity throughout the city. So
hey, we're all human. We all
mistake,
make mistakes. It happens, unfortunately. And, just keeping it away from football, it's something he's going to have to deal with. And like Mickey said, he's going to have to get back in the good graces of his team and his coaches, and we'll see what happens from here. He's going to end up missing this game, and moving forward, hopefully doesn't make a mistake like this again.
Yeah. Here's Coach Joseph on communication in the defensive backfield. I'm sure is around the fact that Miles Farmer might not be there.
Well, Buford's capable of getting it done, lining everybody up, and Luke's out there. Luke, scream. You have a lot of hand signals that we can communicate. We lose a lot with Miles. But Buford can handle that situation.
Here's one that I wanted to talk about because I thought this was interesting coming out of the game last week, is that Caleb Tanner, who had a heck of a game, did have some quotes. And sometimes I think we read too much into player quotes. Sometimes you stick a mic in front of somebody.
Especially right after a game. It's really emotional. You just got through, a battle, win or loss, and, blood's pumping, adrenaline's pumping. You're still probably breathing heavy. You're trying to collect your thoughts. Everything's racing. So once you stick a mic in front of them, they just go.
Well, and two, it's just kind of playing the result too, is what it was said. So what Caleb said was basically we got too comfortable. If you get too comfortable, we can't get too comfortable. We have to come out in the second half and come harder than what we did in the first half. And then, some people looked at that, thought maybe that's a damning statement on Mickey Joseph as far as getting them prepared for the second half. Again, I thought in that Minnesota game, it's kind of a weird situation where things are working. I mean, you still kind of have to make adjustments, but it was more on PJ Fleck to make the adjustments. So do you make the adjustments based on the, adjustments you think that he'll make? So it's always kind of a weird situation when you go into the half with the lead and you still have to make adjustments. Of course, you will still do that. It's, the lead doesn't mean everything's perfect, but I thought that was kind of interesting. Here is Coach Joseph talking about Caleb Tanner's comments.
Yeah. And he, Caleb speaks his mind, and, he wanted to make sure we play 60 minutes as a defense. The defense played lights out. But we can help the defense also, but we got to continue to try to play 60 minutes of football on all three phases. Yeah.
So there you have it. That's I think that's a better way of kind of wrapping it up, is you got to play 60 minutes of football. It's not like they were in the locker room, fluffing their pillows and laying down and really actually getting comfortable. They were hyped. I mean, going into the locker room, it was kind of cool to see because, Garrett Nelson, those guys, as they were getting to the rushing off the field, they were pretty excited about what they'd done, which was hold Minnesota to 31 yards. It was awesome. But again, it comes down to a 60-minute game.
Yeah, and I understand what Caleb Tanner was saying, getting comfortable, not like you said, fluffing pillows, laying down and all that, but just getting comfortable in what you were doing and how it was working. And then Minnesota comes out and does something completely different. I mean, they threw in a different quarterback, a more running quarterback, started hitting you with RPOs, and all of a sudden what you were doing before that worked and held them to 31 yards in a shutout wasn't working anymore. So you had to quick make an adjustment, and it seems as if they didn't make that adjustment in time. And like he said, they were a little bit comfortable with what they were doing, kind of smelling the roses before the game was over, and then you get the result that you get.
As we mentioned earlier, not much talk on Harbaugh's side about Nebraska with his press conference. We did get a little talk about Michigan from Coach Joseph. We'll get to that here in a second. The biggest thing that came out of the Jim Harbaugh's press conference was that he's very high on Blake Corum. He says, I would bet my truck. Jim Harbaugh said this, that Blake Corum is on pace to equal or surpass previous Heisman running backs. He also mentioned that Corum is probably the best college running back that he's ever coached, and the only one better is Frank Gore, who he had in the NFL. And he said that Corum has a lot of time to catch that up. But of course, Frank Gore stayed in the NFL for I think 35 years.
I think you're selling him short a little bit.
Yeah, was it 40? Did he make it?
Yeah, he's about 56. So it's about.
He was there forever. And of course,
just did he play for every team almost? Like it seems like it seems like he was everywhere for 1 year and would damn near get 1,000 yards. He got 1,000 yards with every team, right?
He was cool because he was never like a top 5 running back in the league, but he was always top like 12.
Like he's always there, and it was. Oh man, we got to face Frank Gore. Like
and he's tough. Yeah,
he's gonna run you over. He's gonna run for like 105 yards and 3 touchdowns for some reason, and it's going to be very strange. And then the next game, he's like the backup, and he gets like 50 yards.
Do you like the Blake Corum Heisman talk, or do you think it's a little bit Aiden Hutchinson, Michigan?
No, I actually think
propping him up.
I actually think Blake Corum's really good. Watching Blake Corum play, he's actually really good, and he'll get a couple votes. He won't win it, even if. The only way is if Michigan goes undefeated and it's like the number 1 team in the nation.
If they ride off beating Ohio State,
then Blake Corum's going to have a serious consideration if he keeps doing what he's doing. If he gets over, I don't know, 130 for the remaining games, I think he'll have a serious consideration. But now it's fighting off, even though he had a bad game. CJ Stroud, apparently Bo Nix is in the mix for some reason or whatever.
Well, that's the thing. The Heisman's wide open now.
Caleb Williams out at USC, even though nobody watches Pac-12 games, those guys out there are still in the mix.
They still play football.
Yeah, I don't know who I think Hendon Hooker might still be up there because of the win against Alabama, even though he played like garbage against Georgia. So it's a very strange Heisman race. I wouldn't be surprised if Blake Corum is sitting in New York.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially, like we said, if they beat Ohio State there at the end, he'd have all the momentum. Here's Coach Joseph and his thoughts on Coach Harbaugh.
Well, I think he's done a great job. You know, he was a really good quarterback in the league, and he's a really good football coach. His brother's a really good football coach in the Ravens. My brother Vance knows his brother. So it's something like my family. It's a football family. He does a really good job. I had a chance to meet him in Birmingham, Alabama when I was at LSU. He was a great guy to talk to. But he's got a really strong football team, and it's because he's a really good football coach, and he's real organized, and he preaches toughness. And they're tough. You can watch it on film. They're a tough football team.
I can't wait. I said this before too, and this is the second week in a row that I'll say this. Kind of wish Scott Frost was here for this week's game because he had developed a little bit of a rivalry with Harbaugh.
Those two did not like each other.
They did not, and they also. I mean, you think about last year's game: joint possession, disconcerting signals.
That was such
very strange stuff. Aiden Hutchinson was the punch out of Adrian Martinez fumble late. Should they have blown the whistle? So there's just a lot going on there.
Diving in Adrian, was it a dirty play? Was it not a dirty play? You know, just all kinds of fun stuff going on in that game. And then you had, the first Michigan-Nebraska game with Frost I believe Frost was at the helm.
Yeah.
And it was, I didn't know if they really wanted to be there.
Oh, yeah. Those comments coming out.
And then Frost at UCF going up to Michigan and losing and just saying, wow, I think we were the more physical team.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what was going on with those two, but they did not like each other.
Yeah, Frost didn't make a lot of friends around the league, which I think played in part to, and this is kind of funny to think back about this, Big Ten Media Days when he didn't have an opening statement, and we dissected that at all.
Apparently that was a massive deal. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Apparently that was a really big deal.
Well, I just think it was, I think at some point it did have to get awkward because when he came into the Big Ten, as we all know, first and second year Scott Frost, very confident, very arrogant, not afraid to say really anything.
Mm-hmm.
By year 5, all these guys have been beating him up year after year. He's developed a rivalry with Harbaugh and Fleck and some others. And it would probably just be kind of weird. I mean, you can't go in there talking too much trash when you're coming off a 3-9 year.
Sup, losers? No, no, don't do that.
But other than that, not really. There's a small part of me that wants Frost to still be here.
That's it.
But that's about it. Just for the rivalry take on it. Here is Joseph. Did you take anything from last year's game? I wonder if Joseph even watched it.
Well, I usually watch the last game that they play last year. I usually watch it on Thursday, so I didn't watch the game last year.
Oh, see, so he's still got to watch it. He's in for a good game. It was a fun game.
It was
Nebraska was
interesting.
shut out at halftime, if you remember, and then came out in the second half and made a game
were.
out of it. Yeah. Made a big
That was a
decision
weird
early in
game.
that game to go for a touchdown instead of a field goal.
Yeah, and then everybody's like, well, it could have cost you the game.
Yeah.
That was a weird game last year. And then the fire and the halftime or the third quarter to fourth quarter, and Michigan's dancing.
Michigan's getting
and they're like,
excited
oh,
about
they're taking all the juice. And I'm like, what? I mean, your team's getting hyped too. I don't know why you're upset. Like, you can't just play this and expect to tell the other team, no,
Yeah.
you can't dance.
This is fun for everybody in the stadium except for you.
This is our thing. You sit there and be in awe. That's not how this works.
Here's Coach Joseph on Harbaugh's style of play.
Well, I think that's the way you have to build your football team in this conference. I think you got to be to run the football. You got to be to stop the run, but it's still got to be physicality. And I think he's done a really good job of doing that. He started at Stanford, like you say, went to the 49ers, then he went to Michigan. So he has a really good philosophy of what he wants to do, and he's been successful with it. Take your hat off to him.
Hey, Mickey Joseph gets a little bit more credit from me in this race to get the head coaching job because of this.
Well, I think that's the way you have to build your football team in this
Yeah.
conference. You got to be to run the football. You got to be to stop the run. But
Hey, I'm not, I just say things, maybe they sometimes
Oh, you think
head
he's listening?
coaches agree with me.
You think he's listening to you? And he's like, that Jake Bakoven character over at 93.7 The Ticket. He's got some good ideas.
Either that or he's paid attention to Big Ten football and paid attention to Nebraska football in the Midwest and seen kind of how things are success. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not a genius for figuring this out. It seems like Nebraska has went the other way. Hey, let's bring in these different flashy offenses because that'll definitely keep us up with Ohio
If
State.
it works for Ohio State, then it could work for anybody.
That's the problem. Trying to keep up with Ohio State.
That's who you're trying to keep up with.
No,
I don't want to keep up with Michigan. I don't want
Yes,
to
you
keep
do.
up. I don't want to keep up with Wisconsin, and I want to keep up with Ohio State and Michigan. That's why I want to compete with. I don't care about anybody else in the Big Ten.
Don't take it from me. Take it from Coach Joseph.
Well, I think that's the way you have to build your football team in this conference. I think you got to be to run the football. You got to be to stop the run.
I think we got a new promo. I'm going to make that promo.
Of course you are.
That's a great. Hire Mickey Joseph. Take the interim tag off.
That's it.
I need the coach in the Nebraska seat that knows how to build a team in the Big Ten, and that's his plan. If he saw it,
That's all you wanted was that right there.
That's all I needed.
That proves it.
That proves it. Mickey Joseph. I said before on the captain, maybe this isn't the week to take off the interim tag because it might get kind of ugly there. Throw it out there. After that quote, he's in. How did this not lead on Twitter? How is this quote not going everywhere?
It's a great question. I couldn't tell you.
Maybe people aren't as fast.
There's other things that people are worried about.
Yeah, other stuff going on today. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll discuss a little bit more about what's going on with Nebraska football coming up. Also, Nebraska basketball gets off to a good start on the men and women's side. So we'll talk about that too from their victories yesterday. It's coming up next year on the Ticket Water Cooler, 93.7 The Ticket.
Life-changing research doesn't just take place in outer space. It's also happening right here in Nebraska, and you could play a key role. Solarion, one of the world's leading clinical research organizations, needs healthy adults who are 19 years old and older for a research opportunity. If you qualify, you could earn up to $500 a day for time and travel. Overnight stays may be required. To learn more, call Solarion at 866-213-2965 or visit helpresearch.com/500.
You want to join a team of industry leaders? A team where you can learn and grow? A team that treats you right? Well, don't hesitate to look at all the great career opportunities at Acres Equipment, the largest John Deere dealer network in Nebraska. We offer industry-leading wages, state-of-the-art benefits, and a great culture that focuses on both our customers and our employees. Find your next career opportunity at acres.com/careers.
Fall has arrived, and it's the perfect weather for the DIY market to listen to the game while building a deck. Deck City is a great place to start as Lincoln's local source for everything decks. Deck City has everything you need to build the deck of your dreams, from treated lumber to Westbury aluminum railings and TimberTech composite decking. They offer advice from real deck professionals to give you proper guidance to make your project go smooth. Call them today to schedule an appointment at 402-480-6671 or go online at deckcityne.com. mercado.com. There's nothing quite like the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese Beef. The Mercado offers unique ingredients you can't find anywhere else, open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The full-service butcher shop and retail store is wonderful for meat lovers with their exclusive Certified Piedmontese Beef and assorted sausages, plus other quality meats, including pork, chicken, and a wide range of the freshest seafood. Plus, every Friday from 11 to 2, the Mercado serves up the best lunch in town on their Friday Feast menu. Stop in at the Mercado today at 84th and Havelock or visit their website at cpmercado.com to see current deals.
Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul and Gato Comedy Syndicate present Big Comedy Energy November 11th and 12th, featuring headliner Corbin LeMaster.
If you don't know, cultural appropriation is like if you're not black, you can't have cornrows. If you're not Asian, you can't use chopsticks. If you're white, you can't score a touchdown.
4 shows November 11th and 12th at 7 and 9:30 at Mary Ellen's at 27th and Pine Lake. Tickets are $15 in advance or $25 at the door. For more information, find the event on the Mary Ellen's page on Facebook.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric is the call I make when I have a need for plumbing services. Whether it's for my home or office, if I need a repair to a water heater, softener, or even my garbage disposal, I know I can count on Action to help. In one simple call, their amazing customer service team promptly schedules a service call, often getting to my needs within a day. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
Where will your path take you, traveler? To seek fortune in a new career? Or on a journey to distant lands for a well-deserved vacation? Wherever you go, one distraction could spell disaster. You can change your fate, adventurer. Don't drive distracted. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Hey guys, Nick Sadert here, and I want to tell you about my friends at Spine and Sports Chiropractic. I experienced a herniated disc in my lower back a few years ago, and thanks to the folks at Spine and Sports, I got back to feeling 100%. At Spine and Sports, they use the active release technique, which involves the soft tissue and can alleviate headaches, shoulder pain, plantar fasciitis, and more. What I like most about the ART method is that your doctor will construct a plan that fits your needs because the technique is not a cookie-cutter approach. Allow Spine and Sports Chiropractic to help you feel better. Set up your appointment today by giving them a call at 402-261-6841.
Hey, it's Sean Callahan, and football season is here, and there is one place that has all the games, plus great food and beer specials. Tanner's Bar and Grill at 30th and Yankee Hill. Whether it's Thursday night football, college football Saturdays, NFL Sundays, or Monday night football, there's a great view of the game from any seat with different food and drink specials every night. Try the Blue Ribbon Reuben Sandwich or the Prime Rib French Dip or any of their famous chicken wings. That's Tanner's Bar and Grill at 30th and Yankee Hill.
Wow. Did you ever save me money on my car?
Yes, that's why our customers keep coming back.
How do you do it, friendly car dealer ?
We simply have low overhead and high trade-in values. The next line's yours.
Oh.
Ready for something better? Mullen Motors is a no-hassle, no-pressure dealership with financing available. Check out the inventory at MikeMullenMotors.com.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
The Empire brand is growing with ESC fabrication and sandblasting. ESC is your place for custom handrails, industrial and commercial painting, and more. ESC provides custom welding for aluminum and stainless steel and media blasting of all sorts. ESC has great attention to detail. They stick to deadlines and keep within your budget. If you can dream it, they can make it. Contact ESC Fabrication and Sandblasting in Waverly today at 531-207-9329.
Back to the Ticket Water Cooler, brought to you by Wingstop on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It is time for a few news and notes as we head out this show. Of course, we'll talk a little bit about Nebraska basketball, their opening victory, 79-66 over Maine here in a second, but I did want to get to a few things first. A couple notes that I thought were kind of interesting. If North Carolina beats Wake Forest this week, they will clinch the Coastal Division. So get ready. The football season. It's not so much shout out to Mac Jones or Mac Brown or anything.
Whoa, Mac Jones.
Mac Jones too. But Mac Brown specifically. It's not so much a shout out to them. It's just letting you guys know football season's getting there. I mean, it's division winners are about to be clinched. It's crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah.
The football season is almost over.
Boo.
You have 3 more weeks. Well, 4 weeks. And then We get into the long couple of weeks before bowl season starts. And then after that, a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah. At least the NFL will stick around for a little bit, but of course around here we love
especially
our
since
college
they
football.
extended it.
Yeah. Also, I thought this was interesting. Mark Jones, but more importantly, RG3 is going to be in the booth for this week's game. You big RG3 fan? He seems to be.
I wish it was here and I had a chance to meet him.
Yes, you are a big
That's
RG3.
it. Love RG3.
That's how much of an RG3.
Love RG3.
He says things sometimes that make you go, what?
Fantastic. Can't wait to hear it. I wonder what he'll have in store for Nebraska.
Yeah.
Also, fantastic hurdler. Love that about him.
Oh, yeah.
I wore Batman socks in college for a couple meets because he wore the Superman socks.
Did
So,
you really?
Yeah.
I thought you disliked Batman now.
I'm not a big fan of Batman, but I couldn't find any Superman socks, so I had Batman socks.
Well, good. Batman wins that battle. Also, Sean Callan tweeted this out. We should learn the TV network here soon, but as far as the kickoff time for Wisconsin will be either 11 or 2:30. So don't worry.
Fine
You don't
with
have to wait
that.
up too late for the final home game of Nebraska's schedule.
I hope it's 2:30 so that we can be slightly warm outside.
That's right.
At Tipsy
It will be
Tina's.
freezing. No. Also, Dan Patrick is at it again. He's reporting that San Diego State will join the Pac-12 as soon as this week, and then a source close to the situation tells The Athletic that report is inaccurate. So
Where is Dan Patrick getting his? He is so wrong on so many things, and nobody calls him out on it.
he's just like late enough in his career. He's so established.
He's just like
whatever.
He's like, yeah, I
Throw it
got a
out there.
source telling me this, and everybody's like, nope, that's not true. And he goes, no, I trust my sources. My sources have never lied to me. I'm like, dude, your sources have lied to you for like a year. What do you mean your sources never lie to you? What's going on right now?
Yeah.
Dan Patrick is wild, just throwing out speculation and news that he's like, yeah, breaking news, San Diego State to the Pac-12. That's what I'm hearing from my source.
I read it on college football Reddit. It's got to be true.
And then San Diego's just like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah, the Athletic reporting that the Pac-12 will do its media deal first before any conference expansion. So we'll see. Maybe Dan Patrick wins this one. Maybe San Diego State.
And then
does
when
go
San
to the
Diego is like, see, I told you they would join. I'm like, you said that they would join like this week. What are you talking about?
Also interesting in football news, Mark Stoops, who has been rumored for the Nebraska job, he's calling on the community in the state of Kentucky to help with NIL. They've lost 2 decommitments, so they've had 2 decommitments in the last week. He's kind of pointing to the NIL thing. So whether it's Lane Kiffin without fan support,
you know
or
where
Mark
you wouldn't
Stoops
have
without-
problems with
Yeah,
NIL, Mark?
That's right,
Nebraska.
If it's offered to you, and I don't know if you're the top of the list, but if it is,
But
just
only
remember,
if you bring your brother.
Bob.
Yep.
Yeah, Bob Stoops would be pretty. XFL coach Bob Stoops. by the way.
Market Bob up in Nebraska.
Do you want the other brother too? The Arizona
There's another
coach?
is what?
He was the Arizona coach for a while.
Really?
DC there for a long time for Bob. Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Get
bring
the
all
whole Stoops family up here.
I wouldn't mind a bunch of
Stoops family
around here.
reunion, and then you know what you do with that? A Joseph family reunion as well.
Stoops and the Josephs. That's not a bad plan.
I'd watch that show.
Yeah, I think it might work out pretty well. You want an actual show out of it? Huh?
Yeah, I'd watch that show.
All right, we're gonna get to
Definitely
Nebraska
a comedy.
basketball before we get out of here. Nebraska women score 100 points against Omaha
Without a free throw.
Without a free throw.
Every starter,
really?
every player for Nebraska women's basketball hit a three-pointer, at least one three-pointer, and they attempted 0 free throws. Which very weird. We were watching part of it while we were on the air. Nick came from the game the other day, but watched maybe a quarter. It's not like it wasn't physical. It's not like Nebraska wasn't getting into the paint and getting buckets. There just wasn't any fouls called on any shots.
Let them play. That's what I like to see. They
So,
did that in the football game.
UNO attempted 19 free throws.
Okay, you didn't let them. So they
and made 11 of them, whereas Nebraska, again, none. None whatsoever.
And still got 100 points.
They made 14 threes. As I said, every player made at least one. And they attempted 34, and they shot 76 shots, made 43 of them. I'm trying to find the percent. Here it is. They shot for a game 56% from the field, 41% from 3.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
Do
It's
that
like
every game.
day. Yeah.
Do that every game.
That's the key.
You win.
That's the key.
Problem solved.
Nebraska men also got a win under their belt. They were a little bit scared in the second half by Maine. They ended up pulling away 79-66. Free throws also of note in that game. Maine shot 2 for 10 from the
Yeesh.
line. So that doesn't help. Nebraska did a little bit better, 12 of 16, 75%. And they're shooting 3-pointers, which were not too good in the exhibition games. It went up a little bit. They shot
31%.
31%. That's pretty good for a Nebraska team.
I'd take 31%. That's not a for an entire team. That's not a terrible 3-point percentage.
Not terrible.
They also, as a team, hit 46% of their shots, which again, not terrible.
Yeah, you'll take it. They've got a ways to go. Obviously, Maine was not a very good team last year. Won like 6 games. They got a first-year head coach with a bunch of different players, so probably not the best look for Nebraska that it was close in the second half, but they pulled away. Sam Griesel, especially having a good second half, 22 points overall, 9 rebounds, and we had our fun. We already had our Casey 10 minutes. When Casey gets hot, it's a blast.
Buckets.
Yeah. And
well, I guess so. I didn't get to watch the game because I don't have BTN Plus. But from what I understand, the second half for Maine started with them not able to miss a shot.
Yeah, they were hitting threes.
Like they were just hitting every 3 that they were attempting, and Nebraska had no answer for it. So, I mean, if a team gets hot on you like that, there's really nothing you can do about it, even if you're playing. Nobody's ever spoken to the defense that was being played during that stretch. I don't know if it was good, if it was just Maine hitting shots, or if they were all wide open shots. So, but if a team gets hot like that, not really much you can do. So the game getting close like that, not really that much of a concern. They ended up winning by 20 or 13. So yeah. It's all right.
Yeah, they got some pace or some distance and held that lead off, and certainly won the rebounding battle. Did some of the things we asked of that team last year that didn't get done. They're off to they won one, so you get excited about that any time Husker basketball wins. Considering over the last couple of years that hasn't happened too often. All right, we'll take a quick break. Well, actually, I'm going to leave, but happy hours coming up next here on 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Lincoln's